Good morning, everyone. Flight time today, 6 hours, 54 minutes, and we wish you a safe and pleasant flight.
Everybody down!
Hijack is about a plane that leaves from Dubai to London. Plane's being hijacked.
Stay in your seat!
And it's not clear why.
Operation has commenced.
I play Sam Nelson.
Sam is an ordinary man in an extraordinary situation.
He's a very successful business negotiator.
And he's driven to get back home.
I just want to get home to my family.
I wanted to shoot this show as close to being in a real hijack situation as possible.
We brought in a real plane.
It had to feel like you were really there with the passengers and that you were really experiencing that moment.
Until you know who these people are, do nothing.
We had the shell of a real cockpit connected to run off a flight simulator.
All of the computer displays in the flight deck are as realistic as possible.
The integration of the volume screen is one of the cutting-edge aspects of our industry at the moment. It helps create a level of authenticity for the audience.
The lights move past the windows at the same speed and angle as the sun really passes the windows of a plane flying from Dubai.
We've paid attention to every last detail.
There's a ticking clock to tell a real-time thriller over 7 hours of the plane heading towards London.
Each episode is a play-by-play of what happens on the plane.
We are second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, edge of your seat.
Take the gun!
Now don't make them do this! There's more and more tension, twists and turns.
It's a hell of a roller coaster ride.
Intense adrenaline. You are a passenger in that plane.
Sit down in your seat and buckle up your seatbelt.
So, Idris, first of all, what is Hijack about and how does your character fit in?
So Hijack is a show about a flight from Dubai to London. It takes, I think it's six hours, six and a half hours flight. It's a regular flight. And when it gets, my character is traveling back to home from Dubai. He's a business negotiator, and he gets on this flight, and basically a hijack happens, all right? And the show is about the examination of sort of how human beings react in that, in the vacuum of being on the plane, and then also the sort of what the systematic response is to a plane being hijacked as it travels over different territories. So that's what the show's about. It's about a man that needs to get home. He's a business negotiator, and he inserts himself into the hijack in order to figure out a way to ensure that he gets home to see his family. And it's great.
Lovely. What drew you to Hijack and how did you become involved in the series?
I guess what drew me to the show is the writing, George, and the team. You know, just an incredible perspective on a genre we've seen. Hijacking, we've seen many films, heist films, we've seen all of that. But this perspective is really well thought out, layered, and just felt like, you know, we're going to try and turn this on its head. And the focus being around this man who is not a hero. He's not like a big, you know, army guy or anything like that. He's not an ex-cop. He's just a man with a mission. He's just a man with a brain. He's a man who thinks on his toes. He's a man who's vulnerable, like anyone else would be on that plane. And that's what drew into it, is that it was so, you know, well positioned, just felt different. So Jay Hunt, who heads up Apple TV+, and I have worked together before. A show called Luther, and she sort of was part of the vision team for that in the beginning, first season. And so when Jay called me about this and said, look, I really want us to take a look at this, like, you know, of course I was all ears. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's a genre piece that has a very different perspective and a way of telling. It's really good writing.
Lovely. As an executive producer, what were your goals with the series?
Well, if I'm really honest, you know, I wanted to make a TV show, be part of a TV show that everyone was talking about. Everyone, like, you have to see it. You know, when there were only 4 channels and everyone watched TV at the same time over the same period, you know, the next day that's all you would talk about. I sort of miss that a little bit, and so I'm excited. My part of my goal was to try and recreate that sort of sensation. Like, you've got to watch this show. You know, the fact that it's in real time over a 6-hour flight, but broken into episodics, that means you have to go back. You have to continue the story, and hopefully people sit around and talk about that. You know, the show is very relatable. You and I have both been on flights, and we can all imagine what we would be like in that situation. So I feel like, you know, as someone that has been part of many different types of productions, and being a producer or part of a collective of producers, especially at this caliber, it just felt really good to put something that was different, and that I think will bring everyone together to talk about.
Nice. What did you most enjoy about playing Sam, and how do you think you're similar to and different from him in real life?
I think the most enjoyable thing about Sam is that he's just not a typical action hero character. He's a central character. You know, a lot of the story is told through Sam's perspective. You're with Sam, you're watching Sam think, but he never does a kung fu chop. You know what I mean? He doesn't pull out a gun. Well, he does pull out a gun actually. But he doesn't sort of like have this action hero moment. He's just a guy thinking on his toes. And I was really attracted to that. You know, I'm a tall man, big shoulders. You know, you get offered a lot of roles that are about your brawn and, you know, being the guy. But in this case, Sam is just, you know, as fearful, as scared as everyone else, but just had the guile and the smarts to kind of try and outwit them and think about and push their buttons in a way that you're kind of going, oh mate, they are going to kill you. You should be careful. As much as big as you are, but you're going to get killed because they're very ruthless. You just loved watching. I just loved the idea that Sam just kept pushing and using his brain.
Nice. More brains than brawn, I guess, this time.
Yeah, a lot more. Well, you know, he's still a bit brawny.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Okay, so you spend a great deal of time filming on a plane with such a large ensemble cast. How did you work together to build the tense atmosphere throughout the series?
Well, you know, the truth is that this film set, we didn't go onto a plane. We built a plane, a real plane. We used that fuselage and brought it into a studio. And so, you know, it's a plane that hold, I don't know, 300-400 people. And so we had 300-500 people on set every single day. And we were there for just under 6 months, I think, almost. And, you know, it was tense. It was tense because it was you know, the experience, what it was what it was. You know, we were on that plane and we were shooting long days and very intense, sort of dramatic stuff. The supporting artists, you know, were incredible. Every single actor on that plane had to keep a consistent tension for 6 months, you know, while it was broken down on and off, back and forth, you know, but, you know, so it was designed to, some of it was at least we tried to be as, this happens and then this happens and this happens, and shoot in sequence as much as we could. But that definitely allowed, you know, for that tension to keep building, because people knew and they sort of recognized parts that have already happened, even though we haven't shot them, and such and such. So the tension was really, I think, was well sculptured by our directors and you know, the producing team, just in terms of how they lay the schedule out.
Great. Your scenes with Neil Mascow are incredibly powerful. How did the two of you build that complex relationship?
Well, Neil, first of all, is just like you know, you forget his acting when he's in the moment. You know, he's so intense and incredibly focused, and you know, he's kind of actor that just likes to go again and just do it again, and once we've got it, we've got it. But you know, once he's there, he's there. So that was great from my perspective, because he plays a character that is unraveling the whole time, and my character gets to push his buttons And so it was a really great dynamic between Neil and Idris that was played by the two characters, played out by the two characters. And, you know, Jim was very encouraging of nurturing that tension, keep pushing for it, keep pushing for it. It's, you know, someone said to me that it felt like being in a fringe theatre just because of the proximity of it. You like, you know, it's really close, you know, there's a handful of crew, director, cameraman, actors, and you're there, and you're on a plane. So, you know, the performance is everything. Every nuance is right there. You're right there. And that was, you know, what it felt like, I think. An amazing acting experience.
I think he's brilliant for that role, actually. He's really good.
Yes, yeah.
And what about the cast on the ground, including Christine Adams, Eve Miles, Archie Punjabi, and Max Beasley? Did you get a chance to work with them to build the tone of the series?
At the read-through, we got to see each other, and we were so fortunate to have all the actors that came on board, and they absolutely smash it. So, you know, you don't come off the plane and think that the air gets leaked. You know, it's a lot. This is just as tense on the ground with those actors as it is on the plane, and I think they did an amazing job to do that.
I agree. If you're in Sam's position, how do you think you would have handled the hijacking?
If I was in Sam's position, I'd probably want to appeal to those that I felt I could say, does this make any sense? You know, Sam was sort of like, okay, I'm going to figure out this puzzle and see who's who. I wouldn't do that as much as I would try and be like, do you mind if we could just have a quick 10-minute conversation about what's going to happen today? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if I could appeal to that person. Where Sam is more about, right, I'm going to figure out what your weakness is, and whatnot. And I don't think I'd do that. I sort of like try and appeal to like, look, mate, this is silly. You know what I mean? No matter what you're being promised that's going to happen, this is not going to end up good. And that's what I would do. I don't think I could just sit there and, you know, hope. I think I would probably pipe up and talk.
Yeah, I think I'd probably stay silent. But
you would?
Yeah. You've played many heroes throughout your career. What makes Sam unique?
Sam is definitely unique because he isn't an action hero at all. He's quite vulnerable, you know. He's quite sensitive. He is, you know, has got like a unique sense of dynamics. You know, I think as a negotiator in business, when I was sort of doing my research, of course they're good at speaking and good at sort of being a salesman, but they're also working out what's going to make you go, yeah, all right then, I'll do this deal. They're good at doing that. It's the dynamics, you know, they're figuring out, okay, what's that person into versus this person. I think that's what makes Sam sort of unique as a central character in a hijack. Usually it's like, you know, I'm pretty handy, I can fight, I'm gonna go over there and knock him out and blah, blah, blah. But this guy is not like that. He's kind of like, I'm gonna tell you some things that I think you're gonna want to hear in order to manipulate you so you get out of the way so I can go that way and tell that person something else, come back in my seat before you recognize I'm gone. Like, that's how clever he is.
Always one step ahead, isn't he? So the series touches upon international politics and relations. What do you hope audiences around the world will take away from this show? Quite a big one there.
You know, I think there's always like that question about what do you think audiences should take away from the show? And, you know, ultimately for me, it's more about how far can I get them to escape? I don't necessarily want them to take anything away. Not that, I don't want them to take away, what would I do in a hijack? Or, oh, I'm going to go and be a pilot now. Or I'm going to go, I don't really necessarily want them to take anything away except for being completely embroiled in the story and just escape for a second. You know, I want, like I said, I want them to talk about it, talk about the characters, talk about what they would do in those situations. But I ultimately want them to be like, I couldn't stop watching that show. I was just, next episode, next episode, next episode. That's what I want.
I guess this kind of leads on a bit then. So what are you most excited for viewers to see?
I'm excited for people to see the style of the show, how realistic yet heightened it is. The sort of observational camera work and the acting and the personalities. It's the most diverse show you're going to see because, you know, it's not about race, it's not about gender, it's just this human story. And in the center is this man who's just an ordinary man with the gift of the gab. And I really just think the audience is going to be like sort of mesmerized by that, you know, sort of, not cauldron, but that all those ingredients for a show. There's a lot of faces to look at. And of course, you know, everyone's been on a flight. So it's that what would you do feeling. So what would you do in that situation?
And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Would any remaining passengers for flight KA29 please make their way to gate B15?
Good morning, everyone. This is Captain Robin Allen speaking. Flight time today, 6 hours, 54 minutes.
Operation has commenced.
Phones, tablets.
Plane is under control.
You need to see this.
The plane did, of course.
Someone is calling for help.
Got family? Loved ones?
We got one job to do right now, just get through to them.
I got a message from the plane.
Dad says, incident on board.
What exactly does your dad do for a living?
It's difficult to explain.
Sam's the best at handling it.
Handling what?
The negotiation.
There are 200 people on this flight. If they try something, and then this plane goes down, I don't get home to my family. Let me make you an offer.
I've been handed demands.
If it's all going wrong in the first hour, imagine the next 6. We need to get a message to the whole plane. We just need to be ready. There's other stuff going down.
5 passengers on that plane do not exist.
It's a network running all across Europe.
To them, we're an incoming missile.
It's either us or them. And I can tell you, it's not going to be us.